It is a Thursday night and it's my birthday. What am I doing? I am sitting here recording podcasts for Reinventing Racehorses with you guys because that's the kind of life that I have.
Happy birthday. I think I saw it on Facebook this morning, but I haven't been in my house all day.
Well, thank you. It's okay. That's absolutely okay. I had nothing else planned. Like, I planned this on purpose knowing what day it was, actually.
Aw.
Maybe
Well,
I forgot. Maybe I forgot what day it was, but that's okay.
I didn't know it was your birthday until like Tuesday.
That's true. That's very
I didn't
true.
know until about 2 seconds ago. Got me beat, even though it's their own birthday.
I'm getting old, okay? It's hard to remember.
Welcome back to the 9th episode of Reinventing Racehorses with Jasmine and Kimberly, the podcast that focuses on the standardbred breed, both off and on the racetrack. This week, we are excited to have a special guest to discuss the versatility of the standardbred, and we are back with a Standardbred Stigma that I'm sure our guest will be excited to weigh in on.
As always, there will be lots of fun stories along the way. Stay tuned and enjoy the ride. We are thrilled to be able to welcome Kristi to our podcast this week. Kristi is an avid equine enthusiast, standardbred owner, and an all-around competitor. Kristi, welcome to Reinventing Racehorses.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you came to be a fan of standardbreds?
I started riding at 11 years old, and I was a hunter. I just fell in love with them, like the aura they give off, and just when you're around them, they're not mean. Like they're happy to be around, and they're like therapy. And it was just when I was young, I just had little horse figurines, and for some reason I ended up picking horses as my passion. I adopted a standardbred mare about 3.5 years ago named Gucci Grin, also goes by Peanut. She was a friend of mine's mare at the time, and I ended up really liking her. She ended up going up for adoption, and I ended up somehow magically getting my hands on her. And ever since I had her, I have opened up a whole new world of standardbreds. Was I exactly a fan at the beginning? No, but they are definitely one of my favorite breeds now because of the way they are, how different they are. I have never had experience with standardbreds before. This was my new experience with standardbreds other than seeing them on the track. I have my very first horse, which is my off-the-track thoroughbred Zeus. I've had him for 5 years. He is my barrel racer, but was also my past hunter horse. He is, I have to be a little biased, but he is definitely one of my favorite horses I have. I have my Belgian quarter horse cross Molson. He is a therapy horse. He is my mother's trail horse, and probably one of the best horses you could own, as in he will take any rider, and he's just a good boy in general. Then I have Charlie, my quarter horse. Charlie's a little bit more opinionated. I find he's got a little bit of standardbred mindset in him on certain things. He's just a trail horse and a low-level hunter. Then I have Hidalgo, my little paint pony. He was the first actual horse I ever had a relationship with. He was my old schooling horse. We go back since I started riding him when I was 11 years old, and had the opportunity to buy him 1.5 years ago. He's a senior now. He's 20 now, but he's living his life as a trail horse and an occasional lesson horse for pleasure. And then I have my standardbred mare Peanut, who is my upper level show jumper. And she's currently taking a friend of mine into showing her the ropes of standardbreds. and showing her the different gaits that Standardbred have. There is 2 other horses here. I do not own them, but we have a companion horse here, Quinn, who's just everybody's friend, and then a new Standardbred to the herd, Rivia, who is here she's my friend's horse, but she is here for training with me, but also lives here with my horses.
Awesome. So now this week, because you're here with us, Kristi, we wanted to discuss how Standardbreds are probably one of the most versatile breeds out there. However, many people believe that because they're trained to drive a cart, they really don't make good riding or showing horses. I think you have a perfect example of a versatile Standardbred. So why don't you tell us more about her and the different things that you do with her?
Oh, I could not disagree more about how Standardbreds are not versatile. Peanut does upper level show jumping, and a lot of people told me in the start of our jumping career that she would not be a good jumper due to the fact that she was a Standardbred. Peanut has jumped all the way up to 3-9 courses with me last year, and this year, hopefully, if shows open back up, we will be going up even higher. Peanut can also barrel race, and she actually does it way better than my barrel racing off the track thoroughbred. Peanut can go for trail rides. She's safe to road rides. She's even started driving again. They are probably one of the most versatile breeds I've had. She is probably, out of all of my horses I have, all 5 of mine, she is probably the one that can do absolutely everything. I've had a lot of people tell me that she can't barrel race because she won't be able to pivot her hind. Well, since she was a pacer, she can actually move her hind a lot better and get around a barrel. Same with jumping. She can get closer to the jump and use all the power in her hind end. She's like every other horse, other than she has more abilities to do different things, and she honestly, in my opinion, does them much better.
That's fantastic. I love hearing stories about horses doing all kinds of stuff like that. What are some different training techniques that you've used to help your Standardbred become as versatile as she is?
Just do everything. We have a certain thing I like to do here. I don't like to pick one hobby for my horses. I like to do everything. My horses do everything from cow sorting to reining to show jumping, hunters, Western pleasure. We try to get our experience in everything, so then it brings her ability in training up a notch in other ways you wouldn't think of. Like, if I do dressage with my horse every day, she'll be beautiful. She'll have fantastic movement and really good aids, but that's not going to, and those simple aids could take me into reining. So with the leg yield, you need to have leg yield to push your horse over when you're reining, or the really nice in frame. So what I'm trying to say is I like to get my horses all kinds of experience in different disciplines to enhance their abilities in other disciplines. And as well, it keeps them from going sour. But we do lots of that. So every day is something new. Like this year, we have been focusing a lot on reining until sadly COVID took our lessons from us for a while. But this year was reining. And the mindset that it changed for Peanut was it taught Peanut that it's okay to stop and think about things. Instead, with show jumping, you're rushing to a fence, or barrel racing, you're rushing around a barrel. With the reining, it's all about stopping. Same with the running, the reining stuff where you're running and sliding. That teaches her that, okay, it's okay to come back. So now we have really good brakes, and we have a consistent mindset of flow. Unlike with the other activities, we have more go.
So were there any characteristics or behaviors that Peanut showed you, or any other Standardbred that you've seen or worked with, that made you believe that they would be able to excel at both English and Western disciplines? Or characteristics that you look for?
Honestly, I just look for the will and the heart. Peanut showed it in her eyes that she wanted to do something. and she wanted to please. She's just a pleaser horse. If you go out into a pasture to grab another horse, you bet your butt you're walking out of that pasture with Peanut, and you're going to have the best ride ever, because she just wants to have a job. She wants to work. And I think because of their race history in the past makes them such good athletes, because they were started at a young age of learning about work. I kind of just play Russian roulette with my horses. I get what I get and I deal with what I have. But the one thing I do look for is a work ethic. I really like a horse with a good work ethic, which she definitely has. And I just I honestly like to look for some sass in my Standardbreds. With the two that are here, they are both mares and both very much full of sass. So sass is definitely something I will continue to look for in my next Standardbred in a couple years. And just overall, relevantly kind-eyed. I mean, they can't all be kind-eyed. They got to have a little bit of funk in there, but relevantly kind-eyed.
It is that time again for our Standardbred Stigma. Jasmine, what did you dig up for us this week?
This week, we are going to discuss the Standardbred's pace. More specifically, the fact that when they pace, it does not mean they are lame. I think we've all heard it from countless well-meaning observers. That horse is moving funny. It's lame! Meanwhile, your horse is perfectly sound and they're just pacing. A Standardbred may be pacing for a number of reasons. Maybe you asked them to pace. Maybe they got lazy or they got confused and fell back into the familiar pattern of the pace. Regardless, it has nothing to do with the soundness of your horse. Another time this is often pointed out is when your Standardbred is cantering, but they're still in the learning stages of the gait, and it's more so a half canter, half pace movement. People who don't realize this is simply a Standardbred learning their gaits often think the movement means there's something wrong with the horse. Kim, Kristi, I'm sure you've both experienced this. Any particular instances that spring to mind?
I have had way too many incidents where I have been pointed out that Peanut is lame. In show rings, normally in the Hunter series, I have been disqualified and pulled from a couple of classes due to the fact that my mare looked lame. It was only because she had a strange pace strange canter, because she was uncomfortable and was confused. And we didn't even get to go back in the show that day. That was in our earlier days together. Nobody would even listen to the fact that she was a Standardbred. We were pretty much just sent home, and that was all, because of the fact that my mare was apparently lame, when really she was just pacing because she was uncomfortable, and she was very confused at what I was asking. She wasn't used to being in the show ring where we were. She wasn't used to running around with these other horses, and so we were disqualified. There's been lots of situations where I'll have people come out and they'll meet my horses, when you have friends and stuff over. And I will have Peanut always be pointed out to me how, that horse is walking weird. I think they're sore. When really, it's just the way she moves, because she's a Standardbred and because she's a pacer. We have furthered our training and gotten more out of that, and we've kind of changed disciplines into more of a Standardbred friendly discipline. Now, there is other places that are obviously very Standardbred friendly, but in the Hunters, we just haven't had very much luck with not getting disqualified due to pacing, but we have had plenty of luck in the jumper ring and barrel racing, where people don't really care what kind of movement your horse does.
And that's what I see a lot, is that there are certain disciplines where, yes, I know that gait is kind of the main background of the reasoning. So hunters, dressage, that kind of thing. But it seems that even when you go to schooling shows or lower level shows, they're almost against a Standardbred because it's not perfect. And I've seen so many people that get placed, and I've heard it, get placed at the bottom because it's a Standardbred. And it doesn't even necessarily matter what they were doing. It could be a walk trot class, and all they did was walk trot, but they're at the bottom because it's a standardbred. It's kind of a little bit like people sometimes will judge like a paint or an Appaloosa or something and I hear that from people that own those horses in similar classes. They sometimes get put down at the bottom because they're inferior or whatever you want to call it. I find a lot of standardbreds have very, and I mean, my mare is the epitome of wiggly stifles, but a lot of them are very loose or wiggly in their hind end, especially pacers, because of the pacing that they've had to do at the high speeds. So their muscles are stretched a lot more, and so it's kind of gross to watch them. I always say don't look down, it's fine. But so many people think that because they wiggle like that, when they walk, they twist, they don't walk straight, that people are like, oh, that horse isn't going to do anything, or, you know, that horse shouldn't be ridden, or that horse is lame, or there's something wrong with it. And no, that's how they move because of their history and their background. And anybody that's watched my horse walk, my mare, especially on sand, loose ground,
it's rather unsettling to watch. Even I've been watching Hooch move for years. It's just the way she moves, but it really is rather unsettling to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of, and that sounds, everybody listening to this is probably going to be like, oh my God, why do you ride her? Well, let's see. She can jump 2-3 courses. She can barrel race. She can do trails. She can walk. She can trot. She can canter. She prefers to pace. That's just who she is. There's nothing wrong with her. But anybody that's extremely uppity would look at her and not like it. And it's disappointing that the breed is judged because of their imperfections. And the minute you see one that has cryo marks, so the white dots on their legs, people instantly are like, well, you can't do anything with that. It's going to break down. Okay, those marks usually mean that horse had an injury, but why are you judging them based on the spots on their legs? Like, why don't you judge the horse as it moves? And that's, it's very disappointing that this breed is shoved aside and overlooked a lot because they wiggle, because their gaits aren't flashy. They're very flat. They're low to the ground. They don't expend any extra energy in being overly dramatic in their gaits. They do what they need to do to get it done, and that's what they are. They're just hardworking, and it's disappointing that they're stigmatized because of their imperfections. And you know what? I think their imperfections make them beautiful, and I think it's what makes them so versatile.
I was enjoying every second of that. I actually wanted to add in on your the pin firing on the leg. Peanut has that on both of her back legs, and not once have I ever looked at her and thought, you are not going to be a good athlete. You are not going to be able to the level I want to be at. She is probably one of the best athletes I've ever ridden. And the fact that she had an old injury at one point in her life to cause the pin firing on her leg does not make me look at her any differently. It's just, all of us have scars. All of us have injuries. And I honestly think that it's just part of her that I just kind of learned to love. It's the same as I had somebody at a horse show tell me that I should cover up Peanut's brand on her neck because that's just, it looks stupid. And if anything, I make sure I flip my horse's mane to the other side and show off that she's a standardbred, just to show off that somebody thinks something is an imperfection that I think is a beauty mark. And that includes her pin firing on her leg, on her legs, as much as they are a history of a past injury. To me, it's part of her, and it shouldn't be hid. But I thought that was kind of funny that you said that, because I've been told that I shouldn't be jumping the mare because of her pin firing on her legs. But she is one of the only horses I have that will tell me if something is wrong, and her legs have not inflicted or caused any problems with her show career or her jumping or barrel racing career.
I agree with that completely. I've heard other people say that it was suggested they cover up their horse's brand or try to cover up the pin firing marks on their legs. And honestly, I think that's wrong, getting onto the point of being like prejudice. Like, you wouldn't ask a human to cover up every scar on their body. Like you said, we all have scars. Why is it different for them?
Alrighty. I think it's time that we play yet another round of Would You Rather Standardbred Edition. What do you think, Jasmine?
I think that sounds like a great plan. Christy, I'm sure you know the rules of the game. Are you ready?
I sure am.
Would you rather spend every day for a week at a harness racing barn or a hunter barn?
Harness racing barn.
Are you only saying that because of who you're talking to?
No, because I don't like hunter barns. And
I think everybody should have to spend a week learning under in a harness racing stable under a race trainer, because, and under some like experienced race grooms, because there's so much that you can learn about horse care and horse knowledge and just things to look for. Just by looking at a horse, you can tell if something's off, even if nobody else can. It is amazing. And I really wish everybody had the opportunity. I wouldn't trade it for the world to have had the chance to learn about horse care in a racing stable.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
All right. Would you rather have a flashy standardbred with no real outgoing personality or a plain-looking standardbred with a very fun and quirky personality?
I would much rather have a very plain standardbred with a very quirky personality. I'm just one of those people that really loves the quirky personality, and I'm not really a big fan of a flashy standardbred. I got very lucky and I got both of that, but her looks don't really make a horse for me.
Atta girl.
So I want to get off the standardbred topic for one question. Would you rather take a lesson from a professional barrel racer or take a lesson from a professional dressage rider?
Ooh. Oh, that's a hard one. Honestly, probably professional dressage rider, just because I would rather teach my horse slow and consistent and proper movement.
I have to agree with that one. I mean, I'm a pure Western person, but the opportunity to learn the basics of fundamentals of horse, of equitation and riding comes from dressage, and that would just be very cool to get those basic fundamentals.
Alrighty. Last question. Would you rather attend an evening of harness races or attend an afternoon barrel race? When you're not competing, of course.
Hate to say this, but I would rather go to barrel racing. I've been to both. They're both pretty equal to me, but I think if I had to pick, I'd probably pick barrel racing just because it's quicker and I get to go home faster. Which is...
I don't know what kind of barrel races you've been to, but I've been to some that last like 12 hours. But you are right. They do go faster because there's a lot more happening. There's not the lag time that you get at the races. And I mean, I struggle with the lag time because a lot of times I'm in the barns and I grew up obviously racing, so it doesn't feel like there's lag time. But when I struggle to just go to watch because of that lag. Thank you, Kristi, for joining us to talk about the versatility of the standardbred. I know that we love being able to share real life experiences and stories with our listeners, and I'm so glad that you were able to share yours. Make sure to watch for next week's episode. We are going to continue to bring informative topics surrounding the standardbred and anything else. That's all for this week of Reinventing Racehorses. If you have any suggestions of what you want to hear on future podcasts, make sure to let us know.